Hello, welcome to our video where I'm going to explain how to create table list view in Fiyu. I will create component with users list. I'm going to create user list component using command line and command ng-generate component user list standalone. Now I've created standalone component, just like all components in Vue are made. In this video, I'm going to represent to you how to create table list view of users. Now we are going to create model for our component. In model, we have to add entity decorator, where isAdmin defines if entity is used as data transfer object in admin module. In this case, it is set to true. Singular name is singular name of entity, in some cases used as label. Plural name is plural name of entity, also used as label in some cases. Singular URL name is used a singular name of entity URL, used for default navigation. Similar story with plural URL name, it is plural name of entity URL, also used for navigation. Content type is used to set content type in headers of request that is fetching data from server. Permission prefix is entity's prefix, and in our case it is user. Label field is property that defines which property in object is labeled for dropdown when we are getting data from server. Also, we can set a default sort for our table. In our case, it will be sort by field full name, sort direction is ascending, and type is string. Now we are creating model class that we will name user list item, and it extends abstract entity class, and here it's all variables and methods from abstract entity class. To create column with header and data, we have to add presentation entity decorator. Presentation entity must have name and type. Column header name is set by setting display name property in decorator. First column that we are going to create is full name. Name of this entity is full name and type is string. To our table, I will add user's username column. So we are adding presentation entity. Display name is username as column header name. Name of this presentation entity is username and type is string. Let's add user type column and set that user can't filter this column. It is done by setting disable filter property on true. It is just one of presentation entity options. There is more options described in our documentation. We added display name user type, disabled filter, we set it on true, and user type is name of this entity and type is string. Next thing we are going to display in table are users roles. User can have multiple roles and we can display them as chips. Column header name is roles. Filtering table by roles will be disabled by setting disable filter on true. Sorting can also be disabled, setting disable sort property on true. To display roles as chips in table, we use custom component property and set on true. To choose display type of data, we have to use component render type and set value chips. Component render type can be on off, check cross, empty dash, datetime format, and so on. More about component render type you can find in our documentation. Name of presentation entity is roles and type is string. Now I will add more information about user. When column data has boolean type, we can display true value as check and false value as cross. I will create column with name is enabled, which will display check if user is enabled and cross if user is not enabled. We set display name as is enabled and render type property is check cross. Name of this property is enabled and type is boolean. To make our table more informative, I will add two more columns that will display if user is active and if user is verified. Let's do it. To fetch data for our table list component, we need to create user service. We create usual header of service adding injectable decorator provided in root. We are creating class user service that extends abstract CRUD service and inherits all its variables and methods. In constructor, we should add HTTP client and injector from Angular core. In constructor supercall, we put HTTP client, root to get data, module metadata get instance method to get module metadata, and injector. Now we have to add HTML for our component. We are going to use table component from Fiyu user interface library. We have to forward data to Fiyu table component using inputs. In value input, we forward table items that will be in table. Inputs, configuration, total results, table page, custom action menu items are defined in abstract list view component that our user list item component is extending, but in case we need it, we can override them. And also there are outputs that we have to set and they are handled also in class abstract list view component. Load data, this method is responsible for fetching data, then we have on row edit and on row delete. To create a button about table that we are going to use to open form for creating new user, that topic is explained in separate tutorial. So to create a button about table, we are using a Fiyu template directive. Template type is header actions. Now I will add regular prime button. For label and title, I'm going to use translations. We have translations for three languages: Croatian, German, and English language. For label and title, we will use uppercase pipe. Router link is defined in abstract list view component class, and by default it will use module name and singular URL name to create this router link to form for creating a new user. Okay, now we have to import all modules, directives, pipes, components that we were using in our component. So we have to import uppercase pipe, router link, button module, translate module, view template directive, and table component. Also providers. There is table repository provider. State configuration token is property that holds the token and table state configuration static value that should be used as a dependency. User list component that we created extends abstract list view component. Model is user list item that we have created. In constructor, we add injector, and in constructor supercall we define model for our table user list item. Service is user service, module metadata get instance, and injector. One more step is to add root to our component. Path is users. Since this is standalone component, we have to lazy load our component. For can activate interface, we have permissions guard that checks if user has enough permissions to access this root. Required module is user, and we have to add required permissions defined in module permissions, and user has to have user view permission to be able to see a list of users. After these steps, we can compile code and check our users table. I hope you enjoyed and found all needed information to create table using Fiyu on your own.